Hey folks, it's Nate, and today I have a little bit of an unpopular topic to talk about, so stay tuned if you want to either be enraged or nodding along in agreement, because that's usually how these things go. So first off, sorry, there's no welder involved in this particular video. However, I do want to say thank you, because a few of you have used the YesWelder promo code that I advertised in one of my fabrication videos and in my YesWelder TIG unboxing video. Thank you very much. I got a little bit of a kickback for that, and I hope you enjoy your YesWelder products, whatever you bought. They don't tell me what you bought. They just tell me that I got a sale. Awesome stuff. Thank you. Keep it up, folks. Remember that if you're interested in welding supplies or gear from YesWelder, go to yeswelder.com, use the code SWBFab, and you can get yourself a 10% discount. And I get a bonus. All right, so what do I have to talk about that is unpopular? Well, let me tell you a little story. There's this town here in Pennsylvania called Centralia, and it's a coal vein that runs underneath the town caught fire. There's lots of speculation as to how or why it caught fire. Most people say either illegal burning or a bunch of trash in the woods that somehow got ignited, lit the coal vein on fire. Bad stuff. If you're unfamiliar with coal, how it burns, and coal vein fires, they're very hard to put out. This one has been burning ever since. And the town above the coal vein, Centralia, is basically abandoned at this point because it's unsafe to live in. There's sinkholes all over the place. There's toxic fumes in the air from the coal burning. Some days it's fine. Some days it's really nasty. I can only recall having been there once, and I was very young. It was before the town was closed off. It's not really closed off, sorry. I was very young. It was before the town was mostly evacuated because you could literally drive right through there. And that's what I want to talk about today. There's a section of Interstate 61 here in Pennsylvania that used to run through Centralia. And I'm pretty sure that's the road I was on when I was little. And, I remember my parents telling me to roll the windows up because of the coal fire. In the 90s, this section of highway was closed off. And it was closed off because the coal fire beneath the town, remember I said about there were a bunch of sinkholes and whatnot, started to literally crack the pavement on top of the road. And it just became too difficult to maintain. They tried to resurface it, I guess, somewhere in the 80s or early 90s, was it? And they decided that it just wasn't worth it and it was too expensive. So the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation basically abandoned that stretch of road, rerouted around it, and they kept ownership of the property until, I don't know when exactly, but eventually they gave up trying to maintain it at all. They don't want to own the property anymore, and they gave it to an adjoining property owner who happens to be a coal company, because this whole section of Pennsylvania is owned either by private property owners, businesses, or coal companies. It's pretty much how it goes. Or, owned by the state because of back taxes or whatever, which is how AOAA came about. We'll talk about that some other day. What I wanted to talk about today was that section of highway. You see, because it was abandoned for so long, people liked to walk it, ride bikes on it, or drive on it because there's no traffic and you can get away with stuff like that. That was never legal, apparently. Even hiking. I always thought it was open for people walking and hiking, but really what it comes down to is they didn't enforce that. What they enforced was if you were out there with a vehicle, you were not supposed to be out there. You could get a ticket. You could be kicked off, whatever. The state police basically said they used their best judgment based on who was out there. And what people would do while they were out there is this section of highway slowly over time got covered in graffiti. It was referred to affectionately as the Graffiti Highway. Pretty cool. A lot of people like to visit there. A lot of people visiting AOAA, people that come up for the Jeep Jamboree, vendors that are in the area for the Jeep Jamboree. I've talked to tons of them. They all want to go see the Graffiti Highway. Well, it's a good thing that they did, because now, this week, it's getting covered in dirt. You want to know why? Because people couldn't listen. People couldn't keep their butts off of the damn thing. People kept driving on it. People kept going in there and graffitiing everything, including a local cemetery. Literally, the town of Centralia had a cemetery that was near, or has, I should say, a cemetery that was near the Graffiti Highway. People were going into the cemetery and putting graffiti on the tombstones. Come on, people. So, the point of the video today, and the reason I said it could be a little inflammatory, is basically Well, it comes down to land use. A lot of people, myself included when I was younger, they seem to think that if land is accessible and there's no gate, there's no signs or whatever, that it's free to use. Sometimes that's true. Most of the time it's not. And usually you can get away with it. Usually you can go and have a good time, ride your bikes, go for a hike, whatever. People don't care about that. But as soon as there's an off-road vehicle involved, all of a sudden people get uppity because they think you're destroying the place. And in a lot of cases, unfortunately, we are. And I say we because I am an off-roader, as you know, and I get lumped in to that same group of people that are abusing the land. I don't like being looked at that way. I don't like it when people think I'm abusing the land because I try damned hard not to abuse the land. Yes, I might leave ruts, I might leave tire tracks, I might spin some tires from time to time and dislodge things. I may drive through water crossings, but on the whole, I try not to spill fluids out there. I try not to trespass, and I try to be a good steward of the planet that we all have to live on. So, folks, I don't know. I don't want to sound like I'm ranting at you. I don't want to sound like I'm preaching to people. But I do want to get the message out there. If you come across some land that you're not sure who owns it, there's no signs, nothing that says it's open to the public, nothing that gives you rules and guidelines about how you're supposed to use the land, think twice about whether you're supposed to be using that land. Because there's a good chance that somebody owns that land, unless you know it's a state park or forest or whatever, which has a whole other set of rules that go along with it. But if you think someone might own that land, or if you don't know who owns the land, find out. Find out before you hit that trail. Now, I know that's not always easy. You can go to ArcGIS and you can check for deed records and see who owns certain land. That's probably the best source. But you don't know, even from that, whether you're allowed to be on the land or not. The land that I learned to off-road on was basically abandoned coal land. And I say abandoned because the coal company that owned it basically was all but bankrupt. So they weren't actively mining anymore, but they didn't even have the funds to block off the land. So it's just kind of sitting there open. Well, that doesn't mean I was supposed to be in there, but no one ever chased me off. So of course it was fine, right? Probably not fine. There's people that go in there today and they get caught and they get fined and they get kicked out. I don't go there anymore. I wish I could. I would love to get that land and turn it into an off-road park. The problem is everybody in this area, except for people like me, have a negative opinion of off-roaders. And that negative opinion is because, in a lot of cases, they have just cause. A lot of off-roaders are a blight to the land. They go out there and they have beer parties, and they go out there and they have campfires or bonfires. They start forest fires. Some people do it on purpose because they think it's funny. Folks, it's not funny. And maybe I'm preaching to the choir. Maybe you guys are all really responsible land users. But the message I want to get out there is simply that if you abuse the land, that makes people like me look bad. It makes people that want to go enjoy the land look bad. It makes people that are responsible with the land look bad. And the worse we look as a community, the less chance we're going to have of using these lands. There's a lot of landowners that don't care if you go and hike on their land, but they sure as hell care if you're on there with a four-wheeler or a Jeep. Why is that? Because people with four-wheelers and Jeeps look bad. All right, folks, I'm not going to rant any longer. I think I got the message across. If you watch nothing else but this couple seconds, just hear me out. If you don't know the status of a piece of land, I'll put a link in the description of this video to the ArcGIS resources, at least for Pennsylvania. I don't know, every state's different. But there are GIS maps that you can literally search for a land parcel or browse around to find a land parcel and find out the owner. If that owner is a private company, there's a good chance you're not supposed to be on that land unless you know the landowner, or unless you know the landowner has it open to the public. Most of the time it's not. If you're going to use the land, be aware of who owns it and whether you're supposed to be there or not. If you're not supposed to be there, I know it sucks, but don't be there. It makes us all look bad. It gets land taken away. It makes the entire sport look bad. All right, I'm going to stop ranting. Thank you guys for watching. If you stuck around to the end, I'm sorry this video was kind of a downer. Thank you again to the folks who have used my YesWelder promo code, because it really does help me out. And that's it. have a good week, folks. I hope you're staying safe from the pandemic, and I hope you and your families are all doing well. All right, thanks. This has been Nate, and I'll catch you on the next video. Hey, you stuck around to the end of the video. You're awesome. You should probably hit the subscribe link up over here, and make sure you hit the notification bell. Otherwise, YouTube's not going to actually tell you when I produce something new. You can also support me via Patreon by clicking the link up over here. And if you like this video, you should probably check out the recommended content that's coming up down over here. If you want merch like I'm wearing right here, you should go to SWBCrawler.com and check out my shirts and hats and whatever else I've got for sale. Thanks for watching.